Like any skilled artisan, you, the video cameraman, must first and foremost know your tools. It's not our intention to influence your personal preference in equipment. It is our intention to keep pace with evolution of home video technology. So, keeping an eye to the future for these exclusive programs, VC2000 has specially designed its own prototype video camera with video recorder built into the camera chassis. Now, keep in mind, any video camera, when properly used, can give you exciting results, regardless of make or brand. Whatever camera you'll be using, the operational principles are pretty much the same. That's what your owner's manual is for. What we're after in this show is to turn your shooting into professional-looking video. The main purpose of the video camera is to turn the energy of light into an electronic signal. Light enters the camera lens from light reflected from the subject and strikes the video tube inside the camera. Now, up close, most high-quality cameras will provide a number of useful features, like a zoom lens, an automatic iris feature, a white balance control switch, an extendable boom microphone, and underneath, a threaded tripod mounting plate. Let's take a quick look at each of these features and see how, when properly used, they can give you professional-looking results. The zoom lens, truly a marvelous invention. It can give you a long shot, a medium shot, or close-up, all without changing your position or lenses. Here's how. First, zoom all the way in on your subject, as tight as you can get. Next, bring the focus in sharp. Now, your subject should be focused at any point in your zoom, from close-up to long shot. Keep in mind, the zoom lens is a good servant, but a bad master when overused. Our next camera feature is the automatic iris. It's measured in f-stops. Your automatic iris instantly adjusts your camera lens opening or aperture to let the proper amount of light into the camera. In a sense, it reads the light situation for you. Handy, automatic iris. However, strong backlighted scenes can fool the auto iris. If your camera has a special backlight control, you can easily compensate for the problem. If not, you can manually override it. The next camera feature is white balance, a camera function that lets your camera reference itself as to how white should read under prevailing conditions, and thus put all colors in proper perspective. Here is how it works. Merely aim your camera at a white surface under the existing light and flip the switch. It will automatically preset all other color temperature settings in the camera to balance. Remember, you need to reset your white balance each time you change from one lighting environment to another, both inside and out. Two last quick features: the extendable boom microphone here on top and the threaded tripod mounting plate underneath. The mic gives sound in the shooting environment and in sync with the program. We get to that in depth later. It's the tripod mount that's key at the moment. With practice, you can set up and level a tripod inside 30 seconds. And man, is it worth it. A nice steady frame, a smooth, professional-looking move, and just as important, it keeps your arms and back from wearing out on an all-day shoot. When a tripod isn't convenient, snuggle up to whatever's handy. A fence, a tree, or your assistant. If you need to move and shoot, try for at least a 3-point support system. Your shoulder, your hand grip, and the side of your head. You'd be amazed at what you can get. A video camera is a truly beautiful thing, and for what you've paid, you ought to protect it.
Don't ever point your camera at the sun. Pow! Instant burn. It can cause permanent damage to your camera tube. Do always keep the lens cap on when your camera is not in use.
I now pronounce you man and wife. You may kiss the bride.
There are various types of sounds that you will encounter in video production: dialogue, sound effects, wild or non-synchronous sound, and of course, music. The audio portions of your video recorder have excellent fidelity, so make use of them.
Sound. The succession of slight, rapid variations in air pressure that travel over a distance. Like a billiard ball, sound travels in a straight line until it hits something. The waves bounce off and continue in a straight line until they hit something else. Sound.
Sound waves are really variations in air pressure. These perfect ripples are picked up on a very sensitive transducer or electronic eardrum in a microphone. There, they're converted to electronic information, then relayed to the audio recording head in the camera recorder. The sound waves are transferred magnetically to the videotape and stored for playback by reversing the process we just went through. Not too much to it, really. If it is laid down right, good sound is clear and distinct. It doesn't sound like this. It has no fuzzy edges. There are no ragged sounds in it. Noises in the background are in their proper place. It's clean and sweet, and it's not that hard to get. The main cause of distortion or bad sound is simply overloading your system. Like people, machines have their limits. Know their limits, and you can control distortion. It all boils down to your recording volume. Sound professionals will tell you that the lower you keep your recording volume, the better. And that means keeping as close to your sound source as possible. When you start moving your mic away from your source, you're losing control and letting background sounds become louder and more obtrusive. Also, the type of sound you get partially depends on the type of microphone you use. Microphones are classified by the patterns in which they pick up sound. There are two kinds you'll be concerned with. This kind is called unidirectional. The unidirectional microphone is very selective. It gives you a pickup pattern of about 80 degrees. Sounds to the side and back are subdued. It's good for most general shooting situations you'll encounter. Unidirectional mics eliminate most unwanted extraneous sources that are present as you record. However, they oftentimes need to be close to the source and carefully aimed. Otherwise, the sound quality will deteriorate rapidly.
All right, players, lift the guns all the way up and out of the holders. Aim them down at the belly button on the bottom monkey.
This is known as being off mic. If your situation requires a not-so-selective pickup pattern, you'll want to look at using an omnidirectional microphone. The omnidirectional microphone is not selective. It features a pickup pattern of 360 degrees. It lets you pick up sounds equally well from all directions. It can also be small and compact, typically used as a lavalier or wireless mic. Keep in mind, it's important to use the correct microphone and correct placement to ensure the best sound quality in any shooting application. Let's look at some examples.
You ready?
Okay.
Let's
sing a song.
for Mom.
In situation one, you're shooting a simple sequence around the home. The sound will be adequate using the mic built into the camera. The camera mobility you need here is minimal, and you can stay close to your sound source.
Life is but a dream.
Situation two.
God in this company to join this young couple in the bonds of holy matrimony.
You want maximum camera flexibility, but under the circumstances, distinct sound from a single source is important. The ideal solution is to clip a wireless mic on your subject. Although the wireless is an omnidirectional mic, it's usually placed so close to the source of sound, little else is picked up. The wireless will get you good sound quality and let you shoot from any camera angle you desire.
Rule of thumb. Number 1, do not place microphones so that sound can bounce into it from a flat, reflective surface. Number 2, Use the same microphone type for an entire sequence if possible. Number 3. Do not pan the microphone too fast. This creates noise.
For simplicity's sake, let's look at how light from one source can make a world of difference in what we feel simply by changing its position. Front lighting. It's flat, leaving uninteresting shadows to the side of the nose and face. Underlighting. We see unnatural shadows, leaving a sort of evil look, perhaps a touch of mystery. High side lighting. Aimed at 45 degrees to the subject, we see the classic look of portrait lighting. It comfortably models the face into a three-dimensional form. Top lighting. Shining directly down, deep shadows form under the eye sockets, nose, and chin. Again, a feeling of mystery and dominance. Side lighting. Splitting the subject in half, it highlights rugged masculine features or texture of fabric or skin. Side rear lighting. It yields an even more dramatic effect. With a slight shift further behind, we bring out the full shape of the subject in silhouette. Setting lights is nothing like it used to be. The camera eye today is sophisticated. It sees more with less light. And for your video setup, the classical three-point method for lighting is perfectly suited.
Key light, the sun, the spotlight, the main light source falling on your subject. Placement, just to the left or right of your immediate camera position. Key light.
According to the classic three-point system, your key is the first light to be set. It's positioned to one side of the camera and focused down at a 45-degree angle. This shortens the shadows that fall behind. The key light is the foundation for the rest of your lighting efforts. It illuminates the brightest area of your picture, and naturally, the eye of your viewer will head for it instinctively. Now the fill light.
Fill light. Softer, more diffused light, filling in the shadows created by the key light, leaving just enough shadow for a feeling of depth. Placement. The fill light is placed on the same plane as the camera lens, on the opposite side from your key light. Fill light.
Setting your fill light is easy. Its main job is to bring out detail in the shadows made by the key light. Let's see it again. Off, there is a heavy shadow. On, the shadow is softened. Too bright, and there's no shadow at all. That looks flat, uninteresting. Bring it down, and a pleasing mixture. Ideally, your fill light casts no shadows itself, only reduces the contrast of light and dark from the key. The final Hollywood touch in your lighting setup comes from the backlight.
Backlight, a spotlight from behind, pulls your subject out into the third dimension, defines it. Placement, directly opposite your camera position, behind your subject. Elevation, 45 degrees. Backlight.
The backlight is the third light to be set. It's also aimed down at 45 degrees. It complements the key light and fill light and brings me out from the background. See the rim effect around my shoulders and hair? Looks more lifelike. And that's the trick with lighting. You're working for an optical illusion, for the camera's eye. The backlight is usually about as strong as the fill light and not quite as strong as the key light. But so much for theory. Cut 'em. In a world heavily dependent on artificial light, there is often enough of it to shoot by. So before you set your lights, use your artistic eye. Scan the scene. You may avoid fussing with any equipment at all. You may be able to get a more natural and authentic feel with a minimum of effort. Realistic interior lighting generally follows a principle called source lighting, which simply suggests that What you're shooting appears to be lit from a source of light that you can see. A window, for example, a lamp, a fireplace, and so on. Or when no particular source is present, the light conveniently falls from above and in the middle of your shooting area. Another effective technique when shooting in close quarters is bounce lighting. By pointing a light at a wall or ceiling, you can maintain a natural, even-looking lighting effect with a minimum amount of effort. But a word of caution, reflected light will pick up the color of the walls and ceiling. Two problems: limited space and lighting subjects in motion. Let's take a look at how to handle them. In most locations, setting your key and fill lights should be no problem. Keep them close to the camera. Additional backlight and set lighting takes a little ingenuity. Try hiding lights behind furniture. You'll get some exciting effects. Another trick, pump light from outside of the room through a door or window. Set your lights high to cut down on shadow throw, and make sure to keep lights and stands out of your frame. The only way to light for subjects in motion is pre-planning. Know the move in advance. If need be, set up several places along the line of movement. Your camera should give you some latitude, but first and foremost, make it easy on yourself. Pick the angle that will give the most light to start with. The same goes for outdoor shooting. The challenges of lighting outside are much the same as indoors, except you have no ceiling and no places to hang lights. Using the sun as your key light, the three-point system can be employed using devices called reflectors, each taking a position similar to the lights in the studio. Reflectors are used to redirect sunlight into shadowed areas. This homemade job has aluminum foil on one side and a white card on the other. The soft reflector is used to fill the shade side of the face, giving off a diffused, softer glow. The hard reflector side casts a brilliant, penetrating beam, almost as bright as the sun itself. It's good for key light or backlight. No matter what type of reflector you use, it must be continually adjusted as the sun moves. When following motion outdoors, avoid shooting into a bright sky background or heavily backlit area. As you follow the action, they will cause loss of detail and color. There are 5 basic guidelines to help you compose your shots. Now, they are not hard and fast rules designed to limit your creative ability. Not every guideline applies to every situation, but they are a place to start, and learning to master their principles is where creative freedom begins. The first of the guidelines is simplicity. Don't complicate your shots by placing primary subjects against congested backgrounds, and don't try to have too much going on in the shot. Each scene should have a single, simple story to tell. Often, as in these examples, that may mean altering camera position, the size of the image, or, when possible, selecting the best background. Beware of the merger. Lines or objects that cut through your subject as though the two were merging are a common background problem. They not only distract the viewer, but mergers also accent the two-dimensional quality of video and just plain don't look good. Remember, keeping it simple is not always simple, but it is always important. Now, let's get to the most basic issue. You know the scene you want and the subject, but where do you position the subject in the frame? There's no end of choices. Anybody can tell that's wrong, that too, and even that doesn't seem quite right. Most people give up and figure if they put the subject right in the middle, they can't be too far off. And they're right. They aren't too far off. They're off just enough to lose the opportunity for truly good composition. The rule of thirds has been a standard guideline for composition since the ancient Greeks used it to proportion their statues and buildings. The world of photography and video has long since adapted the principle and found it just as useful as it was then. Mentally divide the frame into thirds, horizontally and vertically. Then, simply position your subject where two of the lines cross. The point you choose depends on the feeling you're after, how the shot will relate to the next one, and the other elements you wish to include. Framing is another guideline of composition which can add appeal to your shots. Use your eye and look for frames within frames, like these. As you've seen with the first three guidelines, the most important function of composition is to direct the viewer's eye to the central story in each shot. The concept of leading lines is a handy device that takes care of that job in a most pleasing manner by leading the viewer to the subject. It's easy to make lines work for you, but you have to look. They come in all shapes and sizes.
Don't allow a line to cut a shot directly in the middle. Do remember, the best starting point for a line is usually the left-hand side, because our eyes are trained to read left to right.
Balance is an important consideration in any creative effort. In video composition, it can be broken down into two areas: the balance between the objects in the frame and the balance of light and color. Balancing objects in your shots doesn't necessarily mean equal weights. It simply means your frame needs to be rounded out and used well. These are the 5 rules of composition, but remember, they're only guidelines designed to be flexible, creative tools. Practice them, and they'll come as naturally as looking through your viewfinder. Another key to good composition is the camera angle. Angles have a great impact on making shots appear three-dimensional. Flat angles make the scene appear flat. With a slight change, you can give the shot depth as well as provide more visual information. Angles can also have a psychological impact on your viewer. For example, when the camera and the subject are on an equal level, your viewer will have a sense of equality with the subject. Make it higher, and the subject gets smaller and seemingly less important. Move to a lower angle, and the size and importance of the subject is magnified. No matter how simple the action, there is a potential story composed of simple actions and simple reactions. And along with each story, there is always a simple plot with a beginning, a middle, and an end. Telling a videotape story uses everything you've learned so far about setting up a shot and then goes a step further. It lets you put shots together into a sequence and sequences into a smooth and logical story. It's what's called continuity, and it's easy to learn when you begin at the beginning. As director, your responsibilities are many, but they come down to putting ideas and visuals together in a way that makes aesthetic sense. Your first responsibility is always your audience. Losing them is the worst thing a storyteller can do. It's all in your frame. Through it, the audience will view all story action, but remember, they're getting it secondhand. They're depending upon you. What you put in here is what they get. So think logically, and remember to tell a story. All story action breaks down into sequences. They're the basic units of storytelling, like paragraphs, really. And each sequence has 3 all-important elements, all vital to getting your story across. First, you establish the setting. Let your viewer get his bearings and orient him to the action that will follow. It's called the long shot. Next, you move in closer and set up the medium shot. Remember, your lens is the audience's eye. You've got to be thinking for them always. Of all the possibilities in the long shot, you've zeroed in on some specific action. The medium shot gets you down to business. And then, on to the payoff. The most expressive of the 3 basic continuity shots, the close-up. It holds the greatest viewer impact. It reveals the subject's thoughts and emotions. It's definitely your most important shot. But let's back up a minute. Notice between the wide shot, medium, and a close-up, the camera angle changes by at least 45 degrees. You should always try to move your camera by at least that far.
The general rule. The general rule of continuity states when shooting a sequence, be sure to change the size of the image, or change the angle, or both, in between every new shot. The general rule.
The general rule is a tough one to live up to, but there are a couple of other types of shots you can count on to get you through. They're called cut-ins and cutaways. Cut-ins are shots that cut into the central action. These are usually close-ups and focus the viewer's attention on central events. Cutaways, also referred to as reaction shots, are close-ups or medium shots that depart from the main action to show a related subject, a reaction to the central story or other action going on at the same time. Cut-ins and cutaways are valuable because they make your story more interesting, and on the practical level, they're shots you can use to cover yourself when you change angles. Being a director is easy when you get cooperation from your actors. With script in hand, you've got the world by the tail. You can turn an everyday event into a family epic with controlled action continuity as Dad washes the car. Camera, sound, lighting, composition, and directing a story. It's up to you to develop these skills. You've got them.
And sometimes, because it's worth the time, if you don't lay 'em down. Sometimes the light's all shining on me. Other times I can barely see.
Technically, lighting is easy. All that needs to be done is to provide enough base light to meet the requirements of the equipment and limit the contrast between highlights and shadows in your picture. But don't let this responsibility mask your freedom of expression. That bit of time, magnetically captured, must tell a story. The fact of that which is recorded is not enough. The mood and the essence of the story should be your aim. Light is the expression of the videographer. Your statement is there, interpreting what you see and feel. I'm Joni.
And I'm Mike. And in the next half hour, we'll be showing you potentials, possibilities, and problems in a host of lighting situations, all carefully designed to help you light. As you can imagine, there are all kinds of lighting conditions that you will encounter in your video productions, and each situation will have its own unique blend of light sources to try your talents. Could be shadows when you're at the zoo, direct sunlight at the beach, incandescent light when you shoot a rock band demo reel, natural interior from various sources while you're shooting a pilot for a TV show, fluorescent lights when you're shooting a sports training tape, bright shade during a travel log taping, cloudy, overcast conditions shooting your son's first goal, or night conditions at that pool party. Maybe it's a combination of two or more of these sources, or some we haven't mentioned. What's important to keep in mind is that all light has certain characteristics: its quality, its intensity or brightness, and its color temperature.
We'll be touching on these characteristics from time to time throughout the show, but right now you want to focus on the concept of contrast between areas of light and dark in your picture frame every time you take a shot.
To begin with, there are two basic conditions of light quality. Outside is a good place to show you what I mean. The first is hard light. This means the quality of light is highly directional. You can easily tell the direction it's coming from, and it's very concentrated. The light waves are practically parallel, giving clearly defined shadows and lighted areas. With hard light, the balance of dark and light areas is clearly defined. That is, the contrast between the two is very great. Here in the shade, or on an overcast day, we find a lighting situation giving the quality of soft light. With soft light, the texture of light is diffused. The light waves are bouncing all around, filling in shadowed areas, apparently coming from all directions. Here, the balance of light and dark areas is more even, giving us a lower contrast between the two. Compare them both. Hard, directional light gives us a high contrast. Soft, diffuse light gives us a low contrast. In almost any lighting situation, people and things are illuminated by both hard and soft light. Here inside, Gramps' sunlight through the window is the hard, directional source of light. But at the same time, light naturally reflecting off the ceiling and walls of the room give us a soft light as well. The combination is pleasing both to your eye and the camera's eye. And understanding the concept of balance or ratio of these two kinds of light is central to the art of lighting for videography.
Contrast ratio, the relationship of the brightest area to the darkest area in your picture frame. A key concept, contrast ratio.
So we have different qualities of light, hard and soft. However, these two qualities of light don't necessarily have to do with the intensity or brightness of a light. That's right, hard and soft refer to the quality of light, not its brightness.
You've noticed my friend Joni here has been a great help thus far in our discussion, so I'm sure she won't mind helping out further. To begin with, she's got something we all need to know about. That's right, an eye. In fact, two of them. And Joni here is going to get into a lot of trouble. We all can, if we assume our eyes see like this, the video camera lens. The facts are your camera sees things in a much different way than your eyes do. And knowing the difference is important to your handling the contrast ratio of dark to light areas in your picture frame. Your eye is far more sensitive to light. We see clearly in situations where video cameras see poorly at best. Both in very dark and very bright settings, we can see detail clearly, where the camera might be pressed to give a clear image. Compare the eye's ability to handle contrast ratios of 1,000 to 1 to your video camera's 30 to 1. There's a big difference there. When the scene has highlights that exceed the 30-to-1 ratio that the camera can handle, the camera will not be able to produce details in these areas. When the overall level of the scene is high, and the primary subject is in deep shade, causing the dark area to fall outside of the 30-to-1 ratio capability of the camera, there will be a loss of detail in the dark areas. Another point to remember when you're sizing up a shot and planning your lighting needs: we see with two eyes, which gives us depth perception, three-dimensional vision. The camera sees with only one eye, the lens, without depth perception, two-dimensional vision. The only way we can add the feeling of depth to what we shoot is through lighting, with the use of shadows, shading, texture, and highlights.
But now back to contrast ratio for a minute. Mike, why don't you show us what can happen and how to correct it when you exceed the 30-to-1 contrast ratio?
Okay. Next time you're taping your best girl, buffing her buggy, try this learning exercise. With video, the real problem is with too great of extremes between the lightest and darkest area in your scenes. Because of the nature of your camera's pickup tube, hot highlights can produce various kinds of electronic distortion in your picture. Blooming is one effect. Another problem from hot spots, called lag, happens when you move your camera. What's happening is the highlight is retained on the pickup tube. Then also watch out for lens flare. First, keep a can of dulling spray or silver duct tape handy. They're great glare cutters. Now look at the same shot with dulling spray and duct tape, pulling down the highlights to a level that the camera can handle. Second, to prevent light sneaking into the camera lens, you can rig a card, or as we call it, a flag, to cut your sun flaring problems. Now look again at the shot that had the lens flare, corrected with little time and expense.
Your best girl, huh?
Well, anyway, don't forget that you may want to leave the lens flare in your shot. It conveys the feeling of hot. Again, let your subject matter dictate what you do. There's no real secret to the control of light. It'll do exactly what you want it to do. Now, for the sake of clarity, we're using one of our studio fixtures, but the same holds true of all lights. All you have to do is roll up your sleeves and take control. First, you can control it on and off. No mystery there, right? But we can do much more. Just watch. We can aim it and move it. We can spot or focus it, concentrate it. We can break it up or diffuse it, turning a single shaft into a broad veil of light. We can sculpt it or model it into any pattern we desire. Or by aiming it at a reflective surface, we can bend it or bounce it in any direction we care to.
As we've seen, most lighting for video involves working with the qualities of both hard and soft light. Most situations you'll be shooting are illuminated with varying ratios of both. Your main job in the second C of light, the control of light, is to get a reasonable balance or contrast ratio between light areas and dark areas for your camera's eye.
Let's tackle the control of light in the great outdoors.
Shooting outside events and stories is a natural for home video. Here you're free to shoot what video loves. Plenty of action and movement. But movement is the first problem to overcome. In other words, the sun's movement. Naturally, the sun is your major source of light outside. You're at its mercy, or so it would seem. Hey, Rick, over here. First of all, any photographer will tell you that generally the best time of day to shoot is in the morning and afternoon. Most subjects look best when sunlight is falling at an angle to them rather than straight down. Now, that's not to say you won't ever have problems then. It's just that it looks better. When the sun is high overhead, around noon, it tends to create deep shadows on the face, under the eyes, nose, and chin. Thanks, Rick. You can see how the sunlight is brighter on the top with the hot spot and deeply shaded on the bottom. One way to correct this would be to use a reflector to fill in the bottom. We'll get into the use of reflectors in just a minute as we get into control. In outdoor shooting, you'll find most shots made with subjects facing into the sun are successful. The lighting is even, the appearance desirable. But sometimes you can't always get the sun to cooperate. Here's a strong backlight situation. This too can happen. Strong side light. And both of these conditions can be remedied. Here's how. You may want to practice this exercise around the home. All you need is a subject, your camera and tripod setup, and a simple homemade reflector. White card on one side and crinkled aluminum foil on the other. In setting up, first you set your white balance. This is an automatic feature that's your main control over color temperature. Remember, if your camera has a built-in color temperature filter wheel, select the proper setting, then set your white balance. Next, pick a subject with nice front lighting and adjust your iris setting. The camera iris is your control over how much light you let into the camera. Now find a subject in strong backlight. Here you have two options of control after you adjust the iris. First, your camera may have a backlight control. In this case, this control boosts up your dark areas. But remember, it also tends to introduce noise or grain into your image because the camera is trying to produce an image where there isn't enough light for a good picture. For both a strong back and side lighting situation, it's easy to redirect the sun to fill in the shadows where it's needed. With the help of an assistant and my homemade reflector, I can bounce light to wherever I need it. See how the light off the card side is more diffused? And here, the foil side makes for a stronger beam. Remember, the sun off a reflector can be very strong. Be careful not to blind your subject. There'll be many times when you'll need a reflector to help reduce your contrast ratio. Practice with it. You'll find all sorts of places you can use it. Like we said at the top of this segment, you can do wonders with light when you take control. So now we're going to build with it. You remember from the first tape in this learning library, Shooting Home Video the Basics, we detailed the classic three-point system in the studio. For those of you who didn't see the first show, and as a refresher for the rest of you, we're going to repeat it now.
Key light, the sun, the spotlight, the main light source falling on your subject. Placement, just to the left or right of your immediate camera position. Key light.
According to the classic three-point system, your key is the first light to be set. It's positioned to one side of the camera and focused down at a 45-degree angle. This shortens the shadows that fall behind. The key light is the foundation for the rest of your lighting efforts. It illuminates the brightest area of your picture, and naturally, the eye of your viewer will head for it instinctively. Now the fill light.
Fill light, softer, more diffused light, filling in the shadows created by the key light, leaving just enough shadow for a feeling of depth. Placement. The fill light is placed on the same plane as the camera lens, on the opposite side from your key light. Fill light.
Setting your fill light is easy. Its main job is to bring out detail in the shadows made by the key light. Let's see it again. Off, there is a heavy shadow. On, the shadow is softened. Too bright, and there's no shadow at all. That looks flat, uninteresting. Bring it down, and a pleasing mixture. Ideally, your fill light casts no shadows itself, only reduces the contrast of light and dark from the key. The final Hollywood touch in your lighting setup comes from the backlight.
Backlight, a spotlight from behind, pulls your subject out into the third dimension, defines it. Placement, directly opposite your camera position, behind your subject. Elevation, 45 degrees. Backlight.
The backlight is the third light to be set. It's also aimed down at 45 degrees. It complements the key light and fill light and brings me out from the background. See the rim effect around my shoulders and hair? Looks more lifelike. And that's the trick with lighting. You're working for an optical illusion, for the camera's eye. The backlight is usually about as strong as the fill light and not quite as strong as the key light. But so much for theory. Cut 'em.
Now, in our next lighting workshop, we're going to take this concept a little further. Anyone for charades? In this lighting workshop demonstration, you'll see how to transform a family room or living room into a veritable sound stage in 4 easy steps. It's an exercise you should try around your home. Let's watch as one of our VC2000 videographers works on this problem. Your first step is to size up your main camera angles for shooting your action. From there, you determine your 3 basic light positions: key light, fill light, and backlight. Second step, draft a simple diagram when lighting a scene to accommodate movement you need to plot the action and plan accordingly. Assuming 3 basic areas of action, a couch for team number 1, a couch for team number 2, and a center stage for the main action, Bill, our videographer, figured he could light the scene with 4 lights. Often you'll find your positions can do double duty. He'd use 2 total lights, both trained on center stage, each doubling as a backlight key light or fill light, depending on his camera position. And he'd use 2 fill lights out front to balance out the shadows from the total lights. Again, these will be multifunctional. You'll find most location interiors leave you with low ceilings and no offset space. Needless to say, placement is challenging at times. Bill decided to hang his total lights and use stands for his fill lights. Step 3, rehearse your action against your basic setup. Let's see how our man did. First, the key light. It's the main source of illumination for this angle. It's focused down to about a 45-degree angle. That's the key light. Next, a fill light. On the opposite side from the key light, its softer quality fills out the shadows caused by the key light. That's the fill light. Finally, the backlight. From roughly behind, it brings the main subject out from the background and into the 3rd dimension. Looks fine. With a little tweaking here and there with his barn doors, Bill's ready for step 4, which is shooting his action. Bill was able to shoot the entire area using the 4 lights he set up. Let's take a look at how they work together to accomplish this. For the team seated on this couch, the camera was placed here to get both close-ups and team shots. Bill's lights cover the team like this, with this light serving as the key light, this light serving as the backlight, and this light serving as the fill light. For the team on this couch, Bill placed the camera here for the same shot selection as Team 1. For this team, this light served as the key light, with this light serving as the backlight, and this light serving as the fill light. For the shots of the person in the center stage area, Bill placed his camera here, with this light serving as the key light, this light serving as the backlight, and this light serving as the fill light. Keep your lights out of your frame. In a room such as this, it's best to hang them high, or it may be possible to hide them behind a door or furniture, or shoot from another room or through a window. But remember, always practice safety first.
Do always make sure any instruments you have rigged are secure. If there's any doubt, find another placement. Do always secure all cables and stands. Duct tape is cheaper than replacing light bulbs. Don't ever touch a bulb with your bare hands. Oil from your skin causes uneven heating and may result in an explosion. Use a clean cloth. Do always keep lights off until you're ready to shoot, and shut them down immediately after the take.
Keep in mind, in any lighting situation you're designing, be methodical. Build slowly, 1 light at a time. If you get mixed up, turn them all off and start over. This is the only way you gain control and keep control.
But video lighting professionals will tell you that merely focusing light from different angles on a subject is really just the beginning. The next step is to interpret the mood, feeling, the texture of the scene, and then use your control to maximize the emotional impact that lighting can bring. And that brings us to the 3rd C of light, creative lighting.
In quick review, you'll remember from shooting home video the basics. Just 1 light can make a world of difference in our mood by simply changing its position. Front lighting leaves flat, uninteresting shadows to the side of the nose and face. Underlighting lends unnatural shadows, leaving a sort of evil look, maybe a touch of mystery. High side lighting. Here we generated the classic look of portrait lighting, comfortably modeling the face into a three-dimensional form. Top lighting. Cast directly down, deep shadows form under the eye sockets, nose, and chin. Again, a feeling of mystery or dominance. Side lighting. Dividing the subject in half, it highlights relief, texture, and features. Rear side lighting. It yields a dramatic effect. Were we to shift a bit further behind, we'd see the shape of our subject in silhouette.
Creative lighting begins with your artistic eye. Once you've fulfilled the technical objectives of knowing how to light for a satisfactory picture signal, balancing the contrast of lights and darks, you can begin to break some of the rules. This segment's on creativity, right? Well, here's a place where you need to follow all the rules all the time. No room for creativity here. Electricity is nothing to fool with. It has no compassion, and it demands the most professional attitude you can muster. Any good electrical how-to book for the homeowner will detail breaker boxes, how they work and how you should work them. Get one and study it. You can put about 1,000 watts total on each 15-amp circuit. You're pushing it if you use more. Two things to keep in mind. One, each breaker box is different, and not all circuits are clearly marked. Some things like refrigerators or freezers may be running on circuits you shouldn't use. Two, never open up the mains of a circuit breaker box without a qualified electrician. Your electrical cable should use 12-gauge wiring and should be dressed properly, not strung all over the traffic lanes. Always take time to tape cable down if it does cross a traffic area. In kitchen and bathroom areas, be particularly careful where you lay cable. Electricity and water don't mix. And take care where you attach gels or diffusion filters. If there are drafts, be sure the material can't blow onto or brush the lamp. And when you're done shooting, here are a few rules of thumb.
As you're striking your set, first, pack up your camera, monitor, and recorder setup. It'll give your lights time to cool. Next, wrap your cable. Then you pack stands, scrims, and other accessories. Next, your lights go in safely wrapped and protected. Finally, pack your cable, as it's going to be first out at your next location.
Most of your video shooting may be centered on activities involving family and friends. Events take on a special significance when you know you can capture, enjoy, and relive them on videotape for years to come. Christmas, Thanksgiving, the 4th of July, vacations, they all become more exciting when you plan them around a story.
And for this segment on creative lighting, we're going to do just that. We'll be following Joni as she workshops a variety of home lighting situations around an Easter Sunday family get-together.
Creative lighting can play an important part in capturing a family event. You'll want to note and try the techniques demonstrated here around your home. Let's go inside.
Joni's first creative study in lighting was built around Billy. Using natural light as her key source, she captured a beautiful portraiture. Here's a simple sketch of the camera angle she wanted.
To get this mood, I adjusted my white balance for the proper color temperature, then used a blue gelled light to reduce the contrast on Billy. There was enough natural light to get a good picture of the eggs. Notice my position. Billy's right-handed, so I shot...
To gain maximum flexibility in shooting angles, Joni's lighting diagram was...
this show and will refer to it often.
Just follow the... itself, you can eavesdrop. You could stand right here where I'm standing, watch one of the conversations going on in the room, and you could basically pick up on what's being said. That's because as a human being, you have the ability to hear selectively, to listen selectively, to literally block out unwanted sounds. But to this microphone, this party is nothing but a jumble of noise. Listen. See what I mean? Now, if we really wanted to pick up on Jana's personal comments over there, we practically have to get this microphone into her cheese nacho. We'll come back to the party later and show you how to do just that. But for now, let's go back to the studio for some basics. I heard what you were saying about me at that party, even though the microphone couldn't.
Oh, yeah? Well, that's just because you're binaural.
You'd better tell them what that means.
That means you have two ears. And physiologists tell us that the presence of two ears leads to the binaural effect, which is the ability to detect the direction of approach of sound from a distant source.
And this microphone can't do that, right?
You don't see any ears on it, do you?
Throughout this program, if you constantly remember that microphones don't hear the way people hear, you won't have any problems in grasping the principles of recording good sound for video. And we'll show you some fascinating and fun ways to use sound in home video.
Of course, we know most home video producers don't have all this elaborate recording and mixing equipment, but we'll show you some tricks that even the pros use to get the best sound possible. Let's go back to that party.
We'll get there, but we have to go to school first.
Sound. The succession of slight, rapid variations in air pressure that travel over a distance. Like a billiard ball, sound travels in a straight line until it hits something. The waves bounce off and continue in a straight line until they hit something else. Sound.
That's what sound is. Now let's learn how to capture it. And what better place to learn about sound than on a sound stage?
The key to good audio is believability. That means things that are seen close up should be heard close up.
And things at a distance should be heard at a distance.
Jenna will demonstrate that point from way down there. You see, it's important to remember that if your audio isn't realistically believable, your audience will become disoriented and confused. From your point of view, as the audience, Jana should sound like this. Say something, Jana.
When you're seeing me this far away, you should be hearing me this far away.
It wouldn't make any sense if she sounded like this. Demonstrate the basics of sound, because we don't have to contend with some...
Comes up short.
Many times people fall into two categories. Those who say, I'll do my best, and those who say, I'll be the best. And Randy White, whether he's ever professed it or not, wants to be the best. The drive that he has to be the best player is obvious the way he practices, the way he plays the game. Does not accept defeat. He does not accept the fact that he cannot make the play. He just believes and plays as if he personally can make any play that has to be made, and he does.
While White strides resolutely on his way to the Hall of Fame.
considerably.
Ironically, the easiest way to explain how microphones hear is to show you with light. Now, there are two basic microphone pickup patterns. Omnidirectional.
Play my music in the sun. I'm a joker, I'm a smoker. I ain't complaining, but I'd sure like to find me a true final love. Someone or another that's as sweet as your mother. A true final love. 'Cause the time is right for walking in the moonlight.
Is to get your microphone as close to the sound source as possible.
These are also omnidirectional mics, but they can solve the problem of recording sound select.
Has an extremely narrow pickup pattern. Now, directional mics have to be handheld or mounted on booms or stands so they can be pointed directly at the sound source. And you'll need to monitor what they're hearing with a pair of headphones plugged into your monitor jack. I'll show you what I mean. Now, this is a live directional mic. You're hearing me through it right now. You'll notice as I move it away from my mouth, my voice fades. As I move it back, my voice returns. Remember that directional mics are very selective, and sometimes that can be a problem.
Basing your microphone selections on pickup patterns can help you control recording quality. After that, it's a matter of where you place your mics and controlling your recording volume.
The biggest problem most people have with recording good sound is distortion. And that comes almost exclusively from overdriving the limits of your recording equipment.
What shall we sing?
I know, let's sing Yankee Doodle Dandy.
Got it.
Good idea, yeah.
I'm a Yankee Doodle dandy, a Yankee Doodle do or die. A real live nephew of my Uncle Sam, born on the 4th of July. I'm a Yankee Doodle sweetheart, she's my Yankee Doodle toy. Yankee Doodle went to London just to ride a pony. I am the Yankee Doodle boy.
Your best bet is to place your microphone as close to the sound source as possible to cut out unwanted background noise and to keep the recording volume to within the limits of your recording equipment. There are some other tricks that you should know about placing your microphones that will help you in shooting out in the real world. Maybe we should go out and show them.
Let's go back to that party.
That's not a bad idea.
Back in the studio, we were in a noise-free environment, but this is more like what you'll probably be dealing with. Recording good audio here is the trick, but it's still part of the basics, and here's how you go about it.
Let's start using the microphone that's built into the camera. Remember, it's an Omni. Now let's take it around the room and see what we can get. I'll shoot while you watch the point of view of my camera and listen to what this mic is hearing. I'll start with a wide shot from here, and I'll move it around a little bit. Here we go. The first thing you might notice is that you can hear me talking while I'm shooting. If I'm not careful, you can hear my hands and clothing moving around on the camera. So there's rule one. If you don't want to be on the soundtrack, be quiet. Give directions in advance, call for action, then edit yourself out of the audio later. The second thing you'll notice is what we heard before. This place is a jumble of noise. Here, let me get a tight shot of Jana over there. I wonder what she's talking about. To pick up Jana selectively, I have to mic her externally. And I have a choice of using a directional mic or an omnidirectional mic, right? If I used a directional mic, I'd either have to have her hold it, which wouldn't look very natural, or I could put it on a stand, like this. Now let's take a look. Now I have another problem. I still need to zoom in far enough to keep the stand out of my shot, because most people don't like to see a lot of microphones waving around in the picture. I could get the stand out of the shot by using a shotgun mic. Shotgun microphones have a super narrow pickup pattern. I can stand right here, pan the crowd with the shotgun, and actually isolate Jana's conversation. Here, have a listen on these headphones that I've hooked up to the monitor output in my VCR.
I know, it's like, I'll be in tomorrow if I feel like, no, that's not true. I really liked it, though, and I didn't have to work weekends, so that was really good. It really...
Good selective audio, but I still have a problem. How can I operate my camera and aim a microphone at the same time? I can't. Now I need a crew. I need another person to operate the microphone, and they have to know exactly where I'm shooting so they can follow me with the audio. The best way to mic Jana in this situation is with an external omnidirectional mic. I'm choosing this wireless model because I don't want all these people to trip over a cable. You know, if this Omni were just sitting out here, it would pick up all the sounds in the room, just like the built-in Omni on my camera. But by placing it properly, I can get great audio. This mic has a clip on it, so I can just clip it on Jana's lapel. Most cabled Omnis require a lavalier to hang around the talent's neck. And if you don't want the mic to be in the shot, you can use a little gaffer's tape to creatively hide the mic inside the talent's clothes. But make sure you get permission first. It's always important to monitor your audio with headphones. In this situation, there's a good chance it will pick up clothing rustle as Jana moves around the room. If you hear that, move your microphone to a different position or have your talent not move around so much. Now let's talk about recording level. If your VCR has automatic gain function, which automatically controls the audio level, watch out. Automatic gain works by picking up the strongest signal in the area and adjusting the recording level to that. Now that's why it's so important to get your microphone right next to the primary sound source. It's the only way you can cut out unwanted ambient noise. Let's see how Jana sounds now.
If my partner's done this right, you should be hearing me above the crowd noise. This is the best way to get selective sound in a noisy environment, whether it's your daughter's birthday party or a foreman on a noisy job site. Remember to watch your recording level, especially if you have auto gain. If I'm quiet for a while, the auto gain may increase and boost the next sound to a disturbing level. Manually controlling your audio level is really the best. Monitor what you're recording and always remember to listen for interruptive ambience. Your video will be more pleasant if you hide your microphones and cables. Tuck them inside clothing or hide them behind something in your scene. Try to avoid recording near hard, flat surfaces because the sound will bounce off of them and distort. Don't put your microphone directly on tables, desks, or countertops. put padding under them. And if you're using a microphone stand, put padding under it too. Inside, it's best to shoot in rooms with sound-absorbing materials in them, things like draperies, padded furniture, or carpeting. Outside, stay away from the sides of buildings. Shoot out in the open or in areas surrounded with trees and shrubberies. They make great sound absorbers.
Well, those are the basics. Microphone selection, microphone placement, and controlling recording levels.
But there are times when you'll need more than one microphone because you may have more than one primary source of sound.
So you'll need another piece of equipment so you can control all your microphone levels. It's called a mixer. And we'll show you how it works back in the studio. This is an audio mixer. Several models are available to you, and they literally let you mix several independent audio signals into one output signal. As you can see, there are several input jacks instead of the single one you have on your VCR. You can connect a microphone to each of these, or you can combine, say, 2 microphones and an audio cassette recorder or a record turntable to another jack to play a little background music. Up here on top, you can control the level of each input signal with these switches called mixing pots. If someone were speaking into one of the microphones, you'd want their level higher than the level of the music. Now, once you've set up your levels, the mixer will send your finished sound out of this single output jack and into the audio input or line-in jack on your VCR.
Here's one way to use a mixer at the shooting location. We've mic'd our singer with 2 directional microphones, one for his voice and the other for his guitar. Whenever you're using more than one microphone in a scene, it's important to always use the same types. Otherwise, you get different sound characteristics. So I'm using a directional microphone too. And all 3 microphones are going into the input jacks of this mixer.
I have their 3 mics coming in here, and one output coming out here and going into my VCR. This pot controls the singer's voice level, this is his guitar, and this is Jana. Now, if you were shooting this, you'd have to have a camera operator and an audio operator to work the mixer and to monitor the sound with headphones. But here's what you could do. You could cue the singer to start playing his guitar and then fade that into your audio track. Then you could cue Jana to introduce the singer and fade Jana's voice up and fade the music down just a bit. Then fade Jana all the way out and bring the guitarist's voice up to a pleasing balance with his guitar. Listen.
Ladies and gentlemen, the music of Dan Hinkle.
Green leaves of summer turn red in the fall, to brown and to yellow they fade.
Perfect. A good mixer and a little practice can give you excellent sound quality.
Using multiple microphones and a mixer, you can record anything from a panel discussion to a parade.
Speaking of a parade, do you remember that neighborhood 4th of July parade we recorded last year?
How could I forget?
I have the tape right here. You know, I think we did everything we could do with home video in recording that parade. Do you remember?
I can't believe you managed to pull my voice out of that noise with just that wireless Omni I was wearing.
I did it with the mixer. You were mic'd tightly enough that I could slide your pot up and pull you out of the crowd noise. And I put a windsock on the other Omni, taped it to the flagstaff to pick up the whole band.
Hi, we're here at the Volks Reynolds annual Independence Day block party. The parade's about to begin, so grab an instrument and join right in. contestants from the bicycle decorating contest. And what's your name?
Ben.
Ben, and did you decorate the bicycle yourself?
No.
Who decorated your bike for you?
My mom and dad.
Your mom and dad. And how old are you, Ben?
6.
6, and so what grade will you be in next year?
2nd.
2nd grade, huh? Okay, and who are you?
Beverly.
Beverly. And did you decorate your bicycle yourself?
No, my mommy and daddy.
Your mom and
This is where we use the directionals to cut out all the noise of those people who kept trying to form a band again.
You did. That's a long ride, isn't it?
That was quite an event, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's part of the fun of recording audio, either at the shoot or in the edit.
That's right. You know, you can do all kinds of things in editing audio just by using the audio dub feature on your VCR. You can actually replace the original soundtrack you shot without disturbing the picture.
When you're watching one scene, like this, and hearing me speak without seeing me in the picture, we call that voiceover, because you're hearing my voice over the picture. When you're hearing the sounds you'd expect to be present in the scene, but those sounds aren't in synchronization with the picture, we call that wild sound. Listen.
It's easy to dub in a new soundtrack over the one you originally shot, whether it's a voiceover narration, sound effects, or music. And if your shooting conditions were such that you couldn't get good original audio, you can sometimes save your production by adding wild or non-synchronous sound. Here's how you do it.
To simply narrate what you've just shot, connect a microphone to your VCR through the microphone input jack, or simply connect your camera to your VCR and use the built-in microphone to speak into. Rewind your pre-recorded tape to the point where you want to change the sound. Then put your VCR in the playback mode and hit pause. Now put your VCR in the audio dub mode, release the pause, and begin talking into the microphone to narrate what's going on visually. When you're through, stop your tape immediately, rewind it, and play it back to see if what you just recorded works for you. If not, do it again.
For real control, though, it's best to pre-record your new audio on an audio recorder. You can even use your mixer to add sound effects or music to your narration. And you can do all of this without running the risk of erasing some of the video by starting and stopping your VCR so much.
We must warn you that all commercially recorded music is licensed and copyrighted. Don't use it on your productions, especially if you're planning to sell them. There are several sound effects and music libraries available to you, though. Check with local recording studios in your town for the best sources near you. Sound effects and music are produced for producers like you to use in your own productions. But in order to use commercially produced recordings, you need the permission of the publishers, the artists, and the producers. And that permission can be very expensive.
Now, do you really want to have some fun? Come with me. You can make sound effects at home. Here's some tricks the movie makers have used for years.
To create the sound of rainfall, trickle salt or uncooked rice onto cardboard, cellophane, or into an empty can. You can create anything from a gentle rain to a full-blown downpour.
Integrally.
Perfect name, great product.
Hemorrhoids, the itch and pain can drive you crazy.
Hold the ball in the air. The same is true on punts and kicks. I shoot the kicker, then pan to the area where the ball will come down. Coaches want to see players, not footballs. When I'm shooting the defense, I try to include as many defensive players as possible. The coaches usually want to see how their defense is reacting, which means they aren't really interested in what the offense is doing. On defensive pass coverage, I stay wide and shoot the target area where the ball is being thrown. That way, on an interception, the coaches can see how their defense picks up their blocking assignments once the ball's been caught.
What do you say we wander over to the soccer field so you can show us what shooting that's all about?
I'm ready. You know, the techniques for shooting soccer and for shooting basketball are almost identical.
How's that?
Well, mostly because they're both fast-moving sports of continuous action. See, neither has the starts and stops of football or baseball, so in order to capture all the action, you pretty much have to set up in one place, turn the camera on, and keep up with the game.
I see. Where's the best spot to shoot soccer from?
The best camera position at a soccer game is at any corner of either end zone, about 30 feet away from the end line and up on a tower if one is available. You can cover the whole game from there. For close-up inserts, or to follow the action on a particular part of the field, a mobile sideline camera is best, and a stationary sideline camera up high is next best.
Ha! Yeah, but what if I don't happen to have a tower on me? Or a dolly, for that matter?
Well, you can rent scaffolds or cherry pickers to get yourself up in the air. If you're shooting for a school, though, there's a good chance that might be in their sports budget. Other than that, you've got to be creative. You can shoot from the top of your car or van, and for a dolly, you can use a golf cart and have your assistant drive it. In fact, in some practice drills, coaches like to get the golf cart right out on the field behind the action.
Do you have any special shooting strategies for soccer?
From the corner position, I use my zoom lens to try to concentrate on the action around the ball. I try to always stay wide enough so the ball isn't going to be kicked out of my frame. That way, I'm also seeing all of the players who are actually involved in the action. And down at field level from the sideline, I can concentrate on tight shots of isolated plays. These are usually shots that the coaches specifically request, like penalty kicks, ball skills of key positions, like the shooting techniques of the center forward and the wings. They're also great shots for the rover if you can have two people shooting the game.
How about giving us some basketball shooting tips?
Sure. In fact, my partner, Brian Adams, is over in the gym shooting basketball right now. I have to stick around here and shoot some special teams footage for the coach, but if you'll head for the gym, Brian will be glad to show you the round ball ropes. He'll be the one with the camera.
Okay. Hey, thank you, Perry, for all your time and your tips.
Glad to help.
Hi, Coach.
Hi, Brian.
Mike Bradley. I'd like you to meet Coach Jack Kiefer. Jack, this is Mike Bradley.
What do you mean, Mike?
Mike's interested in learning how to shoot sports for home video. We've been covering a lot of sports from my point of view. How about telling Mike what you'd like to see from a coach's point of view?
Sure, I'd be glad to.
While you do that, I think I'll grab some shots from up above.
Coach, in your opinion, where's the best position for shooting basketball action?
We favor the mid-court position, just as you see Brian has the camera there right now. This way we can get half the court at a time, which gives us a 5-on-5 situation. And when we do have transition in the game from one end to the other, you're just going from one position of the camera to the other, just two positions really, and it just flows with the game and you can follow it.
Now, what are you specifically looking for? Defense, offense, or combination, a little bit of both, when you're using that as a training tape?
Sometimes we'll just deal with one at a time. We'll deal with a defense at a time, or we'll deal with an offense at a time. But most of the time, we'll cover the whole game at a wide respect so we can see the patterns, so we can see the team defense and things of that nature.
Do you think this helps an athlete to see himself on videotape?
Oh, it helps a great deal. Not only will we do it during the game, we'll do it in practice with a shooter, say his technique.
And you can pinpoint the action.
We can pinpoint it. In a game, we can dub our voice into the situation, and the kid can be watching the film on his own in a room by himself, and our voice will be there saying, now, did you see that? Run that back, repeat that, and see what you did.
Run that back, David. You did not block that man out. He got on the inside and obviously was in a dangerous area. We got awful sloppy, awful sloppy.
Now, if you set up in any other position for really action sounds and everything, where would you pick up sounds from the crowd? Should you?
We will go to the corner down in here at the end of the court, kind of the corner of the court, and get the full view, and then you don't have as much camera. You have one distance shot and close shot, but you don't have as much camera movement at all.
Very good.
And we'll even add crowd noises to it.
Okay.
And the kids enjoy just the monotonous of seeing something quiet. It livens it up a little bit.
I can't thank you enough for giving us tips on shooting basketball. Good luck to you and the guys.
Good to have you.
Great.
Well, Mike, think you have a handle on how to shoot basketball?
I think so.
Good. How about a swim?
I'm ready.
Swimming and diving are obviously individual sports. And most coaches are really interested in helping their swimmers and divers by videotaping their performance for analysis. Right here would be the best place to shoot diving from. At a right angle too, and just a few feet out from the end of the board. From here you can easily capture the diver's approach, the hurdle, and the dive itself.
Diving requires an intense amount of concentration, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, it does. It's important that you don't distract the divers with your shooting techniques. You may even want to put a piece of gaff tape over the blinking tally light. Here's what you get from here. Now, we watch that again in slow motion. You'll notice that I kept my shot wide enough that I didn't have to pan as the diver approached the end of the board. And I left enough headroom so the diver could reach the apex of the dive without my having to tilt up to follow the action. My only camera move was this slight tilt down to follow the diver into the water.
And that was so we could watch the diver's action without being distracted by camera movement.
That's right. It's important to let the action be the action. Now, there are a lot of things you can do with swimming action. To cover a meet, the primary camera position is at a right angle to the starting blocks. From here, you can get the whole race, including the start and the swimmer's entries into the water. You can zoom in on lane action to follow close duels. You can cover the turns of an individual swimmer, or widen to show all the lanes. And from this position, you can actually record the classic photo finish. Now, if you can shoot with another person, a great cutaway camera location is down there at the turn, where you can get head-on details of the turn and then zoom in for a close-up of the finish. And ideally, if you can muster up a third camera person, you can truck along the side of the pool and shoot great stroke analysis close-ups of the swimmer's movements.
Any creative suggestions for a dolly?
Yeah. On a smooth deck surface, riding side saddle in a wheelchair can make a pretty nice dolly. Of course, a lot of your success will depend on the person pushing you, too. Ready to pack it up and head for the gym?
Lead the way. Wow. There's a lot going on here.
That's true.
Yeah.
But shooting it really isn't as difficult as it looks. Actually, there are 8 individual events in a gymnastics meet, and they can all be shot pretty much the same way.
Really?
Really. First of all, it's important to remember that gymnastics is a highly individualistic sport. It's a beautiful sport to shoot on videotape. It's a great opportunity to capture the human individual effort, the symmetry and artistry of body movement. Gymnastics is a sport of competition for technical correctness. And since all of the events, except the floor exercise and the vault, take place in a relatively small area, capturing the performance is really pretty simple. My basic rule for shooting gymnastics is to shoot everything from floor height at a 45-degree angle to the action line of the event. This angle gives me a perspective that truly captures the choreography of the athlete. Unless I'm familiar with the routine, I keep my shot just wide enough to not lose the athlete from my frame. If I'm familiar with the routine, though, I can really capture the human drama by zooming in to study the intense concentration and the discipline of the gymnast. Watch this. Now, in the floor exercise, I try to watch the gymnasts warm up so I can get an idea of where the routine's going to take them. It's a fact, though, that most of the major moves take place along the diagonal lines of the exercise area, so I try to set my camera up just off the direction of one of the diagonals, near the corner, right about here. I keep my shot wide enough to cover most of the area laterally, so when the gymnast is tumbling across the other diagonal line, I can keep my panning to a minimum. Like I said before, the gymnast is the performance in this sport, not the camera person.
And your 45-degree to the action line rule, that holds true for all of these events?
Every one. And I stay at floor level because that's the level that the judges judge from. Coaches can best critique their athletes from that level because they're critiquing from the perspective of the judges.
I imagine the athletes themselves must get a lot out of this kind of footage.
Absolutely. I'd say that gymnasts and tennis players get the most personal benefit from watching themselves on tape.
Did you say tennis?
You bet. Are you ready for the courts?
Yours, sir.
Top-notch tennis players have to be as disciplined in their movements as gymnasts. Good coaches will tell you that a slight change in the grip or body position in the service can change a player's whole game. So it's important for players to be able to analyze their movements and to develop their skills so they're constant. It's best to shoot the whole match from opposite diagonal corners of the court, with 2 cameras in like positions. You can only muster up 1 camera, though. It's always best to shoot from the end with the sun behind you, about 20 feet behind the baseline and up about 15 feet, either in the stands or on a tower. Let me show you what I mean. This point of view will give you a good perspective of all the action and the performance of both players. Obviously, you can see the advantage of having a reciprocal angle of this shot from the other side, but then again, the players will switch sides at the end of each set, so you can get the same shots of each player if you cover the whole match. To really analyze an individual player's performance, the best position is down here on the net, on the opposite side from the player you're shooting. From here, you can stay tight on your player and give them some great footage of their specific body movements.
I suppose some players and coaches like to see specific parts of their game from this angle.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes they only want to see serves, or just forehands, or just backhands, or just net play. It's like any other sport. You have to ask what they're looking for, and then it's up to you to deliver it. Thanks, guys.
Well, Bob, I think you've taught us about everything we need to know about shooting sports. I hope I can remember it later.
You can always rewind the tape and take a look at the sports you're interested in shooting.
Instant replay, right?
Instant replay. Before the replay, though, we've got one other sport we're supposed to cover. How about all those weekend golfers out there?
Can I ride in the cart?
Sure, come on.
How did you get started shooting sports video, Brian?
Well, actually, a friend of mine who coached the Little League baseball team asked me if I'd come out and shoot some of the games just to give the boys a little morale boost. They weren't playing very well at the time, see, and so I did. And the kids' parents started ordering copies of the game tapes, and so I started making a little money.
Great.
And then a high school football coach asked me if I'd shoot some of their games and put together a highlight tape at the end of the season so the booster club could use it to make money for the team. And the thing started just to snowball after that because the high school had a budget for shooting sports.
Lots of money-making opportunities, huh?
Oh, yeah, there are a lot of high school teams who'd use tape, and a lot of independent sports leagues who'd like their game shot. Country clubs host lots of golf and tennis tournaments, too. Some people I know shoot nothing more than company golf tournaments and then pay the country club for providing a list of scheduled outings. Hi, Pat. How you doing?
What? Here we are, the last link.
Yeah. Now, first of all, it's obviously impossible to cover an entire golf tournament with one camera, so you have some choices. You can follow one player around the entire course and help him with his stroke and shot analysis, or you can cover one hole with a couple different camera positions and show everybody playing that particular hole. That plan works pretty well for covering the company outings. Now, the best shots for tee stroke analysis would be from this position right here. Make sure you're back far enough so you can see the ball and the golfer throughout the whole swing. A good pro can tell you anything you need to know about your stroke from this position. Just don't get too far in front of the golfer or you might not be shooting too much tape. Now, there's another position over here that's pretty good for stroke analysis. And if you've got a good eye, you can follow the flight path of the ball. This will take a little practice, and above all, make sure you know where old Mr. Sun is sitting before you tilt that lens up in the air. Basically, if you follow this procedure, you can put a very nice sequence of the golfer's game together.
You have to be pretty safety conscious out here, don't you?
Oh, definitely. It's a good idea to stay near the player you're shooting instead of wandering out for a long shot where you might be in the flight path of some foursome on the next hole. And in shooting shots out of sand traps, don't get yourself and your equipment blasted by the sand. Up here on the green, I'd shoot the way I shoot gymnastics. I'd never put a tripod on the green, but I'll squat down and frame up the hole in the foreground at an angle slightly off the intended path of the ball. It's better to stay wide here to include the golfer, the route of the ball, and the hole in the shot rather than panning close up with the ball. The wide shot lets you see if you're reading the green right and gives you a perspective of whether you're over or under hitting the shot.
I can't thank you enough for helping us learn how to shoot sports on this learning tape.
It's been my pleasure.
In the meantime, always keep your left eye on the ball. We don't want to lose any of you. What's our next stop?
Well, I thought one of those beer commercials might be in order.
To the clubhouse, Mr. Adams. In this program, we've shown you the basics of shooting sports for analysis and entertainment. And if you practice the principles you've learned here, you'll have no trouble shooting general informational coverage or satisfying the most analytical of coaches. Then, after you're comfortable with the basic shooting techniques, you can go for the real impact of sports coverage, the human drama. The essence of any athletic competition is the inner man, the individual effort. Learn to find the story within the story. Learn to capture the ecstasy and the agony of victory and defeat. Play the isolated concentration of the athlete against the roar of the crowd. Use cut-ins and cutaways to tell the inner story of competition. Remember that two teams on a football field are really 22 very real human beings engaged in an intense drama of conflict. Theirs are the stories worth finding and telling. They are the human drama. And that's the real story of sports.